develop project charter. The develop project charter is a very first process of project integration management, and it is also the very first process that you need to carry out in any project. Project charter is a document which will authorize the project manager to utilize the resources of the organization for the project. Okay. It will also be an agreement between the senior management and the project team. Project team is represented by the project manager, and the senior management is represented by the project sponsor. This is an agreement which is also going to act as a guiding document for the project team. Project charter will have the high level data like your statement of work, what exactly we are planning or we are going to deliver through this project. It will also have, or it may also have, the business case, the justification why we are doing this project, what benefit we are going to get from this project. It will also contain the high level constraints or boundaries, like the duration should not exceed 3 months, the budget should not exceed X amount of dollars. All these will be there. It will also have some high level assumptions or constraints. So there is no specific guideline that what all must be there or must not be there. PMI gives you this flexibility. Project team and the senior management and the policy of the organization, based on the policy and the processes you have in the organization, you will have to decide what all component will be there in the charter. Okay, so project charter, once the project charter is released, project manager will be the captain of the ship, and he will start building or leading the team in doing the remaining part of the project work. Important point to understand here is it is the project sponsor who will approve the project charter. It is not project manager who will do the sign off. It is not anyone but the project sponsor. And second important point is this project charter must not be visible or must not be shared with the external customer. Sometimes you may have an internal project, sometimes you may have external project. In case of internal project, again, it all depends on the way you work, the way your different entities of one single organization interact with each other. That is all subjective. But in case of external customer, you must never ever share this charter, because this charter contains your business objective, why you're doing this project, and that sometime can be highly confidential, which you must not share with the customer. Okay, so that is the subjective part of it. You will decide, sponsor and the project manager will decide what component of this charter can be shared with the team also. But to understand this, to conclude and summarize this, project charter is an agreement between the senior management and the project manager. Chetan has a question here. The customer has given us the project. Yes, you are absolutely correct. It is a customer. But why we have agreed to do this project? What benefits we are going to get? Suppose you run an organization and you require an accounting software, and you contact XYZ company to and ask them or give them the project to develop a accounting software for you. Okay, why that company will take up this project? Maybe that company is looking to expand their business. Maybe that company is looking for the market capitalization. So even if the project is a very low cost project which is yielding very low profit for them, they will still take that, because in their business objective they are going to say that we want to get access into this market, we want to retain this customer, or maybe he's a new customer and this is a small project, but in future we may get larger chunk of business from this customer. So this objective will be presented to the senior management, and based on this they will sanction or they will allow the project manager and the team to utilize the resources. This will also an agreement from the management side that yes, we will give you funding for this project. Of course, it is a customer who is going to pay for it, but it will be channelized through the senior management. If the project is worth $1 billion, $1 billion does not mean that entire money will be transferred into project manager's account or given to the project team on the day one itself. No, senior management will channelize that. Padam has a question: how come project sponsor can be different from customer? If you look at this, the picture here, your sponsor is a representative of your senior management. Okay, same example what I gave to Chetan. Chetan has a company, as let us assume he has a company and he wants to get this work, or he wants to get this accounting software developed by some company. So he speaks to customer, he becomes a customer. So customer will speak to the senior management of that organization, and that's one person from the senior management or the this XYZ Limited will interact with the project team there. So the customer, the sponsor, most of the time is different from the customer. In case of internal project, the situation may be different. Okay, but I am talking about the external customer. I am talking about the scenario where you are doing it for an external customer. I hope I was able to make it clear here. Customer is an outside entity, and please understand, charter is an agreement between the senior management or the portfolio or the project steering committee and the project manager and the team. And the interface between these two entities is your project sponsor. Okay, one single person. In certain cases, it can be a program manager also. Okay, PMO can also be a part of sponsor. Yes, in certain cases, yes. From the PMP examination perspective, the only single name that you need to remember and keep in mind is a project sponsor. But in a real life situation, it can be a part of PMO also. It depends what kind of PMO is there in your organization, because sometimes the PMO can be in a consultative role, sometimes the PMO can be in a authoritative role. Okay. So once the charter is released, then the team is ready to move to the next section. Project manager is ready to take the project to the next level, which will be for the planning. So here comes the most important part of this webinar, where we understand and we review how this overall processes, how this entire project management processes rolls into project integration management. So let us look at this. Once the project charter is released, so the first step in this one is you will release a project charter. So project charter is released in develop project charter process. Outcome of this develop project charter process will be your project charter. As I told you, once the charter is released, project manager will become the captain of the ship, and he will start leading, he will have to lead the team in develop the subsidiary project management plans. Project management plan is not one single document, but it is a collection of multiple subsidiary project management plans. That can be your change management plan, cost baseline, requirement management plan, configuration management plan, scope management plan, cost management plan, HR plan, communication management plan, cost baseline, schedule baseline, scope baseline, quality management plan, change management plan, procurement, and risk management plan. The list is not limited to these plans only. There may be some other elements as well. So what I meant to say here is the team will work in tandem. They will have to do the trade-off here. For example, there is no sequential element here. It is nowhere it is written that first you have to develop your scope baseline, then only you can create your schedule baseline, then only you will have your scope cost baseline, then you need to prepare a requirement management plan. No, these plans or subsidiary components of the plan will be developed concurrently. Team will have to do some trade-off and balancing to ensure that everything is within the boundaries which are set by project charter. Okay, change management plan has been mentioned twice. Padam has mentioned change management. Oh yes, Padam, I am so sorry for this, and thanks a lot for pointing it out. I will ensure that it gets corrected in the next occurrence of this webinar. Okay, and once all these subsidiary project management plans are created, they all will be taken to this process in project integration management, which is called as develop project management plan. And we will integrate, we will consolidate everything, and we are going to come up with our project management plan or project plan, which will lead the team into the next process, which is direct and manage project work. Direct and manage project work is a process in executing process group where the team will carry out the work that was planned here in your scope baseline, your schedule management plan, your time management plan, so scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline. I hope you understand this, that scope baseline does not contains any list of activities. Scope baseline contains your deliverables. Your cost baseline contains your cost element for each deliverable and the activity. And it is a schedule baseline which is going to give you the detailed list of tasks that you need to carry out to complete the deliverables. You will have to identify whether your processes are capable of delivering the project within the as per the specifications or not. If yes, fine. If no, you may have to prepare your process improvement plan. You may have to you will have to define your policies and approach towards a change management. You must have your risk management plan and risk register in place, and you will use all this information. A project manager will use all this information in leading and managing the team during direct and managed project work process. And as and when the team progresses, they start doing the work, they will have work results. And in PMBOK or in PMBOK language, they are called as deliverables. Along with the deliverables, you will also get work performance data. Work performance data is the raw data associated with the deliverables. It can be called as, let's say you did some work, you completed some deliverable, and that in order to complete that deliverable, you took 7 days time and you spent $200 in doing that work. Okay, so this work performance data will be taken to the specific elements of the project. Okay, if you pay attention, if you look at these names here: control scope, control schedule, control cost, quality, and so on, they talk about a specific element of the project. Okay, control scope means controlling the scope. Control scope will not help you in looking at the schedule, cost, quality, or any other thing. It is focused only on the scope part of it. Control schedule will look only into the time or schedule related information. Control cost is a process where you will do a variance analysis only and only with respect to cost. So this work performance data is the raw data which will be taken to these respective processes, where the team will do the variance analysis. They will compare these actuals with what was planned for that specific element. So let's say this information or this work performance data of 7 days is a raw data. It will be taken to this process control schedule, where we will find out, we will compare it, what was the duration planned for this deliverable, and you realize that it was 5 days. So it means it was supposed to be done or completed in 5 days, but it has taken 7 days. So there is a negative variance, negative duration variance of 2 days. That will be called as your work performance information. Okay, so this will be your work performance information. Similar way, this $200 is a raw data that in order to complete that deliverable, you spend $200. This data will be taken to control cost process, where we will do variance analysis. We will use earned value management system to do the variance analysis. And when we do this, we will find out that, okay, we were supposed to spend $175 in doing this work, but we ended up spending $200. It means there is a negative variance of $25, which is again called as work performance information. So the difference in work performance data and work performance information is, work performance data is raw data and work performance information is analyze data. And there is a question from Jitendra, in which part stakeholder review will be managed? So stakeholder review will be managed in your, will be done in your control stakeholder, where we ensure, where we find out whether the stakeholders that we have, their expectations are being managed or not. Okay, I unfortunately we do not have luxury of time to include data for each of the process here, but you keep watching for this path through PMP series, and going forward I will be covering each and every knowledge area in this short span of time. We will not be able to go into the details of that, but I will give you the overview in the graphical way, which will help you understand the logical flow and the concept. So I hope the difference between work performance data and work performance information is clear to everyone. After we have done this variance analysis at different for different different element of the project, we will then take this information to monitor and control project work. Okay. In continuation of the same example, where you completed your deliverable with a duration variance, negative duration variance of 2 days, and by overspending $25. Now we need to see how this deviation is going to impact the overall project, because until now we have information only about that particular deliverable. We do not know yet what impact this deviation for this deliverable will have on the overall project. And that is why we will take this work performance information to your monitor and control project work, where we will look into the overall perspective of it. And there is a question from Mr. Nazra Imam. Can cost baseline, schedule baseline, and scope baseline be categorized as project document instead of subsidiary project management plan? No, they are not the documents, but they are a part of your project management plan. Your cost tracking sheet can be a part of your project document. If you go to page number 78 of PMBOK guide, you will be able to see a list of all the project documents and all the components of project management plan. Okay, so these baselines are not a part of your project documents, but they are the part of your project management plan. So once we have this work performance information, that we have a delay of 2 days and we are overspending by $25, now we need to look into the overall perspective of it, how this will impact the overall project. So we can say here that we have a delay of 2 days, so our overall progress is slightly deviated, but we have enough buffer in our hand, so the project timelines will not be deviated. High level information will remain intact. We were supposed to complete the project on, let's say, 31st of July. So we are on track, and the delay or deviation that we have already have enough buffer for that, or we are planning to have some corrective actions in future, which will help us bring this project back in control. So this work performance information then will translate into work performance reports. So work performance information is for that specific element, analyzed element of that component of the project, for example, scope, schedule, cost, quality, and so on. And work performance reports are the electronically published data for the overall project. It can be in the form of any dashboard, it can be in the form of any S-curve, it can be in the form of any bar chart, or any online report or something. And you will have to update your project progress against the baseline, that how much is done. And there is a question from Deepak quizzing how you monitor control contract risk. So contract risk is you will have to check. So in during executing phase, you will sign off the contract with the vendor, you will identify a vendor, and you will award the contract to the person, and that vendor will start delivering the results. So whatever work result or deliverable we get from the vendor, we will have to check that, we will have to do a variance analysis, and then we need to ensure whether this work is as per plan or not. If the work is deviating from there, you need to find out why there is a deviation. Do you see any risk? So contract risk, monitoring contract risk is something you will have to carry out during your control risk. When we prepare our risk register, you need to identify all the potential threats to the project. And one of the risks can be that we do not have control over the vendor beyond a point. So the vendor may delay the delivery of the work or the deliverable. That can be a risk, and you will have to take appropriate prepare appropriate action plan for that in case the deviation goes beyond a point. Okay. So it is the responsibility of the project manager and the project team to ensure that all the risks have been identified, captured and documented in the risk register, and you have appropriate risk response strategy and risk response plan for each and every risk. Okay, I hope I was able to answer your question, Deepak. Okay, so we were talking about monitor and control project work. So the output will be your project report and project dashboard. We had this deviation there. Work performance information says we are not as per plan. So we need to find out why there is a deviation. What is the reason of this deviation? And to control that situation, we will then have to take appropriate action. And as I told you, that action cannot be taken without raising the proper change request. So project manager or the project team will find out the root cause of the deviation, what are the factors which are causing this delay, and they will raise a change request to influence those factors which are causing this delay or deviation. That will trigger a change request. So this change request can be for preventive action or it can be for a corrective action also. That request will go to your integrated change control process, where change control board will review that request and they will take a decision whether to approve or not based on the impact this change may have on other elements of the project. Those other elements are your scope, time, cost, quality, HR, risk, and other areas. Once a decision is taken and the request is rejected, it will simply die. You just have to document that in your change document, change log, and it will simply die. But if the request is approved, it will get implemented in your direct and managed project work. That's why when you go to the process of direct and managed project work, you will see one of the requests as approved change request. And you will also have to update your project plan. Whatever changes you have made, be it preventive or corrective, you need to update your project plan with it. Okay, so this is the output, or this is a change which can be triggered from each and every specific controlling process here. But sometimes it may happen that your all the elements, your work performance information is absolutely correct. There is no deviation, there is no delay, there is no cost overshooting. But when you consolidate that information, you may see that there are some threats in future. There may be some potential threats in the future which may deviate the plan. Or when you consolidate everything, you may get some information that, okay, overall progress is not looking very good or very healthy. So you can raise a change request at monitoring control project work as well. Again, it will go to your change control board. They will review it, they analyze it, they will decide whether to approve or reject, and the same cycle will be followed. So you will continue to repeat this cycle. The cycle will be repeated until all the deliverables are completed. And there is a question here from Pritham: when the change is approved, what are the main failed with change in the project plan? Pritham, that is highly subjective. It all depends on what kind of change you are looking for. Sometimes the change may come from the customer. You are working on the project and customer has asked to make some changes to the scope. Their business requirements have changed. Their business objective might have changed. They will ask you to change certain things. So that change will not be a result of any deviation here, but that is coming directly from there and they are ready to bear the cost of it. So you will have to find out what elements you need to change in your scope baseline, what elements you need to change in your cost baseline, and what element you change in your risk management plan or your schedule baseline. Okay, so that is subjective. And another question I have at this stage is from Mr. Nazre Imam. So if PM wants to fast track the task, do he or she have to take approval for that also? Yes. What is project fast tracking? Fast tracking is you want to create some overlap between two activities. You want to run this activities concurrently, and of course you may require additional resources for that, isn't it? It may sometime impact your cost. If you're adding more resources, it will definitely impact your cost, isn't it? If you're asking your people to do double shift, you will have to spend some money, you will have to pay them extra overtime. So that is the reason even the fast tracking decision must be approved by change control board. But it is again subjective. It is again subjective. In certain cases, it may not be useful, but what PMI says in PMBOK that if you want to add more resources for your fast tracking, you must take approval from the change control board. Remember, the purpose that we have to understand here is to crack the PMP examination. And when it comes to PMP examination, it's PMI way or highway. Whatever PMI suggests in PMBOK guide, you will have to follow that. And the guideline says no alteration, no modification to any element of plan, no matter how small or how insignificant it is, must not be done without the approval from the change control board. Okay. Okay, so there is a question from Deepak Bajpayee, verification and validation plan, where we will plan. So scope verification or validation is one and same thing. For this, to answer this question, I will, it's actually related to the project scope management. So your verification and validation plan will be a subset or component of your project management plan only. And the area where you are going to document that is your project scope management plan. Scope management plan is something, a document where you will define your approach. You will also assign the roles and responsibility, that who are the people who will review the deliverables, who are the people who have authority to say these deliverables are completed, what measures you will take, what mechanism you will take to validate whether the deliverable fulfills your requirements or fulfills your objective or not. That all will be a part of your scope management plan. Okay. There's a question from Preetham. If the project is ahead of schedule, do we need to take approval from the client to go ahead with the project at any point of time in the schedule? You may have to take the approval, because you know what PMBOK says: if being behind the schedule is not a good thing, then being ahead of schedule is also not a good thing. There may be certain things which must be carried out during a specific point of time only, not before this, not after this. So that is subjective. You, depending on the situation, depending on the nature of the project, you may have to take approval from the customer to complete it. Let's say it's a service management contract. The project is to optimize the cost over a period of time. So you want to, or let's say, let me give you another example. The client has outsourced uh, business planning work to a third party, a consulting firm. Okay, for them it will become a project. Okay? Now the duration of that project is 30 days time. They want you to complete in 30 days because there are some organizational activities, there are some specific activities which will be carried out at the customer side at a specific point of time, and you must incorporate the outcome of those activities into your business plan. So if you're ahead of it, you will have to miss out on those key outputs of those activities. So that's the reason it's not good to be ahead of plan also. There's a question from Deepak, what if customer does not approve CR? See, it is not the customer who will approve or reject. It is a change control board. Change control board may or may not include the customer. And if the change request is not approved, it will simply die there. Project team and the project manager or the change requester has the authority, has the right to resubmit with some alteration, some modification, but the final decision will be taken by the change control board only. Okay. And once, as I told you, once all the deliverables are completed, then the project will move into the last process, which is close project or phase process. Close project or phase process is a process where project manager along with the key stakeholders and the customer will review whether the objective for which the project was undertaken is achieved or not. All the deliverables that were there in the scope baseline have been completed and accepted by the customer or not. You may want to do some trend analysis. You may want to review your terms and conditions. Suppose there was a condition in the contract, clause in the contract. If the project team delays anything, they may have to pay some penalty. Why the delay happened? You will have to do all this trend analysis and find out, and you will finally call this project as completed, and you will officially notify the customer that the product, service or result for which the project was undertaken is transitioned and completed. And another very important activity you will have to do is you will have to document the lessons learned, because whatever experiences you had in this project, be it good or bad, you will have to refer to them. If not you, maybe the organization, some other project manager in your organization may refer to that, and that will be beneficial for them. Okay, so there's a question from Preetham: can customer deny the change team's decision at any point of time? Not any point of time. If the project is such where the input from the customer is very important in carrying out any changes, then the customer will be a part of the change control board. Customer can deny the change. Customer can say, let's say you have a resource in your team, you are the project manager and Nishant Shukla is a team member. You feel that Nishant is incompetent, inefficient, I want to change that resource. But Nishant has been able to influence the customer, and the customer feels that he is the best resource that I can have for this project. So the project manager submits a request, but the customer, who is a part of the changing control board, he says, no, I do not want this resource to be changed. And whatever decision has to be taken, that decision must be taken in the favor of customer. That is the PMBOK guideline. That is a PMI guideline. Okay. So after the changes are approved, if the customer wants to revert those, so that will be another change request, which will again go to change control board. Remember, for everything you will have to follow the process, and keep this thing in your mind when you are preparing for the PMP examination. I would agree and say that real life is completely different than the theory or the book that we read or the guide that we read, but that is the purpose. How we can learn the best practices from the PMBOK guide, and we need to start implementing, at least if not full, at least some of those processes in our day-to-day work area, because these are the best practices which are devised or collected and collated to make your life better as a project manager. So with this, we come to the end of this session. And if you want to know more, or if you have some basic question, I'm repeating that again, like how I should prepare for the PMP examination, what is the ideal study time for that, what kind of questions I'm going to get, please refer to the first webinar in this series, which you can find on the YouTube or on the Edureka website.